After silence, the Galactic Council chamber was never quiet. But today, it felt different, heavy, tense, like something unseen was watching from the dark edges of space. Dozens of alien representatives sat in their glowing seats, each one from a different world. Each one powerful in their own way. But today, all of them were focused on one thing: Earth, Ator. At the center of the chamber, a large holographic display showed a blue planet spinning slowly, calm, silent, waiting. Status report, the high speaker said, his voice calm but sharp. A thin gray-skinned officer stepped forward, his long fingers shaking slightly. No response from Earth, sir. No signals, no ships, no transmissions, nothing. A low murmur spread across the chamber. That is impossible, one of the generals said. Humans always respond, they argue, they negotiate, they talk too much. Yes, another added, silence is not their nature. But the officer shook his head. We have been trying for 12 standard hours, every channel, every frequency. There is nothing. The high speaker leaned back slowly, his eyes fixed on the hologram. 12 hours, vets, was not normal, not for humans. Just 1 day ago, Earth had been in contact with the Council, arguing against a new law that would limit human expansion beyond their system. The humans had not been happy, but they had not been afraid either. Their last message was still recorded. The high speaker raised his hand. Play the final transmission. The chamber went silent as the recording began. A human figure appeared on the screen. Calm/steady, eyes focused. We have heard enough, the human said. Then the signal cut. That was it. No anger, no threats, no negotiation. Just those 4 words. We have heard enough. The recording ended, and the silence returned, deeper this time. That is not a surrender, one council member said quietly. No, another whispered. That sounds like a decision. The high speaker's expression darkened. Send another message, he ordered. Demand a response. The officer hesitated, then nodded. Transmission sent. Seconds passed, then minutes. Nothing. Still nothing. The hologram of Earth continued to spin slowly, peaceful and unchanged, but now it felt wrong. Too quiet. Deploy a scout fleet, one general suggested. If they refuse to answer, we will force them. The high speaker thought for a moment, then nodded. Send a small fleet. Do not provoke them. Just observe. Orders were given quickly, and within minutes, a group of fast ships moved toward Earth. Inside the chamber, everyone waited, watching the live feed. The ships entered human space without resistance. No warnings, no defense systems activated. That is strange, the officer said. Humans always guard their borders. The fleet moved closer, passing the outer planets. Still nothing. No patrol ships, no signals, no communication. It was as if the entire system was empty. Approaching Earth orbit, the pilot reported through the feed. The camera showed the blue planet growing larger, beautiful, calm, untouched, but something was wrong. There are no satellites, the pilot said, confusion in his voice. No stations, no ships, nothing in orbit. The chamber erupted in whispers. That is impossible. They had hundreds of orbital stations. Where did they go? The fleet moved closer, scanning the planet. Cities were still there. Oceans still moved. Clouds still formed. But there were no signals, no energy readings, no movement, life signs. The high speaker asked, his voice now serious. The officer checked again, slower this time. Minimal, he said. Almost none. A cold feeling spread through the chamber. Zoom in, someone said. The image focused on one of Earth's largest cities. 2. The buildings stood tall, untouched, but empty. No lights, no movement, no people. It looked like the planet had been abandoned in a single moment. Where are the humans? A council member whispered. No one answered, because no one knew. Then suddenly, the screen flickered. A new signal appeared, not from Earth, but from deep space, far beyond the system. Jet unknown transmission detected, the officer said quickly. Play it, the high speaker ordered. The screen changed, and a simple message appeared. No image, no sound, just text. We are no longer listening. The chamber fell into complete silence. This time, no one spoke. Because now, they understood something far more dangerous than war. Humans were not hiding. Humans were not afraid. Humans had simply left, and whatever they were planning, it had already begun. The first strike. No one in the Galactic Council chamber spoke for a long time after the message ended. We are no longer listening. Those words did not sound like fear, and they did not sound like surrender. They sounded like distance, like a door closing forever. The high speaker finally broke the silence. Track the source of that transmission, he ordered, his voice low and controlled. Thick gray-skinned, officer moved quickly, scanning deep space channels. Signal origin is unclear, he said, confused. It is not coming from a fixed point. It is moving, moving. One of the generals repeated. Yes, the officer replied, and fast. Faster than any known human ship. That was impossible, or at least it should have been. Flick. Before anyone could respond, another alert flashed across the chamber. Emergency report from Outer Colony K-47, a different officer said, his voice shaking. The high speaker turned sharply. Display it. The hologram changed instantly, showing a small mining colony on a distant asteroid belt. It was not important, not powerful, just a quiet outpost used for resource gathering. What is the issue? The high speaker asked. There is no issue anymore, the officer replied softly. The image zoomed in. The colony was gone. Not damaged, not destroyed in battle, just gone. The asteroid where it once stood was cracked open, its surface scorched black. Debris floated silently through space, but there were no escape pods, no distress signals. No warning was sent, the officer continued. No attack signatures detected, no weapons fired, no ships recorded entering or leaving the area. That is not possible, one council member said immediately. It already happened, another whispered. Scan for survivors, the high speaker ordered. Scanning. Seconds passed, then the answer came. No. Thought felt heavier than it should have been. The chamber filled with quiet fear, a malfunction. Someone suggested a reactor collapse. Another tried. But the officer shook his head slowly. No internal explosion. No energy spike. This was external. Then where are the attackers? No answer came. Before the council could recover, another alert appeared. Louder this time. Second report incoming. From where? Trade Station Villon Mid-Sector. Display it now. The high speaker snapped. The hologram shifted again. Another location. Another colony. Another silence. The massive trade station, once filled with thousands of ships and travelers, was now drifting in pieces. Large sections had been cut cleanly apart, as if sliced by something precise and controlled. No burn marks, no explosions, just clean destruction. They didn't destroy it randomly, one of the generals said slowly. They removed it. Removed. Yes. Piece by piece. Any survivors? The high speaker asked again. The officer did not even need to check this time. None. A wave of unease spread through every species present. 2 attacks, in completely different sectors, both silent, both perfect. This is coordinated, the high speaker said quietly, and whoever is doing this does not want to be seen. Then another message came through. This time, not from a colony, but from a patrol fleet. Distress signal received. The officer announced, "Play it." The recording started immediately. The view showed the inside of a command bridge, alarms flashing, lights dim, voices panicking. "They are here!" a voice shouted. "Who is here?" another demanded. "There are no ships on scanners," someone replied. "Then what are we seeing?" The camera turned toward space outside. For a moment, there was nothing. Then something moved. A shape, darker than space itself, slid across the stars. No lights, no engine glow, no clear form. Just a shadow moving where nothing should move. "Open fire!" The commander shouted. Bright weapons fired into empty space. They hit nothing. The shadow was already gone. Then the ship shook violently. Impact! Where did that come from? We are losing systems. Engines offline. Shields are not responding. The panic grew louder, faster. They are inside our defense range. That's impossible. Another violent shake. Then silence. The recording ended. No explosion, no final message, just silence. The council chamber felt colder now. "That was not a battle," one member said slowly. "That was a hunt," another replied. The high speaker closed his eyes for a brief moment, thinking, calculating. "Show me the pattern," he said. Sloth. The officer pulled up a star map, marking each attack location. Dots appeared across different sectors. Far apart, no clear line, no simple strategy. But then, "They are not random," the officer whispered. "What do you see?" the high speaker asked. The officer zoomed out, revealing a larger view of the galaxy. The dots began to form a shape, a slow spreading wave. Moving outward, away from one point, Earth, a heavy silence fell again. "They left," one council member said quietly, "and now they are coming back." Another finished, but not as diplomats, not as negotiators, not even as soldiers. Something had changed. The humans who once argued, who once talked, who once filled the galaxy with noise, were gone. And in their place, something silent, something precise, something unstoppable, had begun to move through the stars. Fear spreads. The galaxy did not panic at first. Great civilizations do not panic easily. They analyze, they debate, they wait for clear answers, but answers never came. Only more silence, and then more disappearances. It started slowly, almost unnoticed. A cargo route failed to report. Then a listening station went quiet. Then an entire research colony vanished without a trace. At first, the council called them isolated incidents. Small problems in a very large galaxy. But the pattern refused to stay small. Within days, dozens of systems stopped responding. Within weeks, hundreds. Trade networks collapsed. Supply chains broke apart. Whole regions of space became dark zones where no signal returned. Ships that entered those areas never came back. Fear did not arrive like an explosion. It spread like a shadow, slow and unstoppable. In the crowded trade worlds, whispers replaced confidence. Pilots refused to take long routes. Merchants cancelled shipments. Even war fleets stayed closer to home. Everywhere, the same question grew louder. What is happening? And no one had an answer. The Galactic Council tried to maintain order. They sent patrol fleets. They increased surveillance. They issued calm statements. But calm words meant nothing when entire star systems were going silent. Then the refugees started arriving. Small, damaged ships began appearing at the edges of safe space. Engines barely working, hulls scarred, crews exhausted and afraid. They all carried the same story. At first, the council did not believe them. But there were too many survivors saying the same impossible thing. They came without warning, one survivor said, his voice shaking as he stood before the council. There were no signals, no messages, Nothing on scanners. What did you see? The high speaker asked. The survivor hesitated, as if the memory itself was dangerous. Shadows, he finally said. Ships, but not like any ships we know. Another survivor spoke next. They had no lights, she said. No heat, no energy signature. It was like they were not there until it was too late. A third one stepped forward, his hands trembling. They did not attack like warriors, he said. They moved like hunters. The chamber grew quieter with each word. What do you mean? A general asked. They isolated us first, the survivor explained. They cut communication, disabled engines, blocked escape routes, and then... The survivor swallowed hard. Then they ended everything. No shouting, no chaos, just a simple final sentence. They didn't speak, he added, his voice barely above a whisper. They just ended everything. Those words spread faster than any official report. Across the galaxy, fear became real. Planets began closing their borders. Defense systems were activated everywhere. Even old enemies formed temporary alliances. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt vulnerable. And still, the attacks continued. A military convoy disappeared while under heavy escort. A fortified station was found cut into perfect sections. A hidden base, thought to be impossible to locate, was erased in seconds. Every new incident carried the same signature. No warning, no communication, no survivors, and always silence. The council gathered again, this time not in confidence, but in urgency. This is no longer a series of attacks, the High Speaker said. This is a campaign. But by who? One member demanded. No species has this level of technology. Another voice answered quietly. They do. The chamber turned. It was one of the oldest representatives, a species known for its long memory. Humans, he said. The word itself felt heavy now. Humans do not fight like this, a general argued quickly. They are loud, emotional, unpredictable. There. That is what we believed, the old representative replied. But belief is not truth. He gestured toward the star map, where dark zones continued to spread. They learned from us, he continued. From every war, every conflict, every mistake we made. And now? The High Speaker asked. The old one's eyes narrowed slightly. Now they are using that knowledge. Silence followed again. A different kind. This time, not confusion. Not uncertainty, but realization. We underestimated them, someone said quietly. No, the old representative corrected. We misunderstood them. At that moment, another alert appeared, urgent and immediate. Priority transmission, the officer announced. From where? From inside a restricted zone. That alone was impossible. No ship has entered that region and returned. A general said, "Play it," the High Speaker ordered. The screen flickered. A broken image appeared, filled with static and distortion. A voice struggled through the noise, weak but clear enough. They are everywhere. The signal cut for a moment, then returned. We thought we could hide, the voice continued. We were wrong, The camera shifted slightly, showing a dark sky filled with faint moving shapes, too many to count. They are not just attacking, the voice said. They are taking control. Another interruption. Stronger this time. Then the final words came through. Do not try to fight them. Silence. The transmission ended. No explosion. No final scream. Just silence again. The High Speaker stared at the dark screen, his expression unreadable. Around him, the most powerful beings in the galaxy said nothing, because now, the truth was no longer avoidable. This was not chaos. This was not random destruction. This was something far more dangerous, something planned. Something controlled. Humanity was not just attacking. Humanity was taking the galaxy, piece by piece. And no one knew how to stop them. The truths about humans, the fear in the galaxy, was no longer a rumor. It had become a fact. Entire systems were gone. Fleets were vanishing, and no one could see the enemy coming. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council stopped arguing, because now they all shared the same problem. They did not understand humanity. The High Speaker stood in the center of the chamber, looking at the massive archive system behind him. "Open all historical records on humans," he ordered. The chamber lights dimmed as thousands of files appeared in the air. Wars, treaties, cultural records, military data, exploration logs, everything the galaxy had ever collected about Earth. "Please start from the beginning," the High Speaker said. "No assumptions, no bias, just facts." A historian stepped forward, an old being from a species that had watched civilizations rise and fall. Humans entered the galactic stage late, the historian began. They were not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most advanced. Images appeared showing early human ships, simple and slow compared to others. They made mistakes, the historian continued. They lost battles, they signed weak agreements. They accepted limits placed on them. A few council members nodded. "Yes," one said, "they were always trying to prove themselves." "That is what we saw," the historian replied calmly. "But we did not look deeper." The images changed. Now they showed human scientists working alongside alien technology, human engineers studying foreign systems, human diplomats sitting quietly in long negotiations. They learned, the historian said. Every time they lost, they learned. Every time they were limited, they adapted. Another set of records appeared. Conflicts between other alien species. Wars that humans were not part of. "And this is where we failed," the historian said. The High Speaker leaned forward slightly. "Explain." "Humans observed everything," the historian answered. "They studied our wars, our strategies, our weaknesses." The chamber grew quieter. "They were always present," he continued. "Not as leaders, not as rulers, but as witnesses. And we ignored them," someone whispered. "Yes," the historian said, "because they were not a threat." Yet the data shifted again, now showing human technological growth. Faster shifts, stronger defenses, more efficient systems. "They advanced quickly," the historian said, "but not openly, not aggressively." "Why hide it?" a general asked. "They were not hiding," the historian replied. "They were preparing." The word echoed in the chamber. "Preparing? For what?" the High Speaker asked, his voice steady but lower now. The historian paused for a moment, then answered, "For this?" The star map appeared again, filled with dark zones spreading across the galaxy. A cold realization settled over the room. They were never trying to win small battles, the historian continued. They were building for something larger. Another council member spoke, his voice uncertain. "But humans are emotional. They act without thinking. They are unpredictable." The historian turned toward him. "Yes," he said. "And that is exactly why they are dangerous." Confusion spread across several faces. "Emotions do not make them weak," the historian explained. "They make them persistent." The Speaker narrowed his eyes slightly. "Go on." "Humans do not forget," the historian said. "They remember every loss, every insult, every limit placed on them." Images flashed quickly, human ships being turned away, human requests denied, human territories restricted. "We thought those moments were small," the historian continued. "But to them, they were lessons. Now, they are using those lessons," the High Speaker said quietly. Yes, the chamber felt heavier with every word. "They are not reacting," the historian added. "They are executing a plan." Another officer stepped forward, bringing new data. "We have analyzed the attack patterns. he said. They are targeting key systems first. Communication hubs, trade centers, strategic routes. Cut the connections. A general said slowly. Yes, the officer replied. They are isolating the galaxy. And once everything is isolated, the high speaker asked. The officer hesitated, then answered. They take control. One system at a time. Silence followed. A different kind now. Not fear alone, but understanding. They are patient, the high speaker said, almost to himself. Slat. They waited until we depended on each other, the historian added. And now they are removing those connections. One council member stood up suddenly. We should have seen this, he said. There were signs. Yes, the historian replied. But we chose to ignore them. The chamber fell silent again. Then a new voice spoke. Soft, but clear. If this is true, then we are already too late. No one argued. Because deep down, they all knew it might be true. The high speaker looked once more at the map. The dark zones were no longer random. They were forming structure. Order. Control. Humans were never weak, he said slowly. No, the historian agreed. They were patient. Another pause. Then the high speaker spoke again. And now, they are done waiting. Far beyond the chamber, beyond the systems already lost, something moved silently through the stars. No lights, no signals, no warning, just a quiet, unstoppable force. And for the first time, the galaxy understood the truth. Humanity had not changed. Humanity had revealed itself. The failed counterattack fear alone could not protect the galaxy. And the council finally understood that waiting meant losing everything. So for the first time since the silence began, they decided to fight back. The order was clear. Form a united fleet, the largest ever assembled in galactic history. Old enemies stood side by side. Rival empires shared command. Species that had never trusted each other agreed on one thing. If they did nothing, they would all disappear. Within days, thousands of warships gathered in a single system. A massive force filled with heavy weapons, advanced shields, and experienced commanders. This will end it, one general said with confidence. No one can stand against this. But confidence was not the same as understanding. At the center of the fleet, the high speaker watched quietly from the command vessel. Any sign of human activity? He asked. A scanning officer replied. None detected. No signals, no ships, no movement. A few commanders exchanged relieved looks. Maybe they will not face us directly, one of them said. Or maybe they cannot. Another added, vet. The high speaker did not look convinced. Move forward, he ordered. We take back the nearest lost system. The fleet advanced slowly at first. Then faster as they approached the edge of the dark zone. The stars ahead looked normal. Peaceful. Silent. Empty. Too empty. Too empty. Maintain formation, the lead commander said. Stay alert. They crossed into the first lost system without resistance. No defenses, the scanning officer reported. No ships. No signals. The fleet spread out slightly, scanning planets and stations. Everything was still there, but lifeless. Just like Earth, this is wrong, a captain said. It feels like a trap. Before anyone could respond, the first ship went dark. No explosion, no warning. Just gone from the system display. What happened? The commander demanded. No data, the officer replied. It just disappeared. Then another ship vanished, and another. Panic began to rise. Hold formation. The commander shouted, but the formation was already breaking. Something is inside the fleet. Someone yelled. Negative, the scanner officer replied quickly. There is nothing on sensors. That is not possible. Check. Then the attacks changed. A battleship in the center of the formation suddenly lost all power. Its lights went out, Its engines died before it could recover. It split apart, cut cleanly in half. No explosion, no visible weapon. Just precise destruction. They are targeting systems, an officer said. Engines, shields, weapons, one by one, return fire. The commander ordered. Thousands of weapons fired into space. Energy beams, missiles, everything they had. But they hit nothing. Because there was nothing to hit. They are not staying in one place, the scanning officer said. They strike, then move instantly. How? No answer came. Then communications began to fail. Signal interference detected. Channels are breaking up. We are losing contact with outer groups. The fleet was being cut apart, not by force, but by isolation. Ships could no longer coordinate. Commands were delayed or lost. And in that confusion, the silent attacks continued, one by one. The most powerful fleet in the galaxy began to fall. They are herding us, a strategist realized. Into what? Someone asked. But the answer came too quickly. The outer edge of the fleet suddenly collapsed. Ships there were destroyed faster, driving the rest inward. They are compressing our formation, the strategist said. Why? Then the center ships started failing all at once. Multiple system failures. Shields offline. Weapons not responding. The fleet had been forced into the perfect position. Trapped right there. This was planned, the high speaker said quietly. Not a battle, a design, a perfect, controlled collapse. Retreat, he ordered suddenly, but it was already too late. Jump drives not responding. They disabled escape systems. For the first time, true panic filled the command deck. We cannot leave. Another wave of invisible strikes hit. And dozens of ships vanished in seconds. Where are they? The commander shouted. No one answered. Because no one could see them. Then, for the first time, something appeared on the main screen. A shape. Dark, smooth, almost blending into space itself. A human ship. But not like any they had seen before. It did not glow. It did not signal. It did not even seem fully visible. It simply existed. And behind it, more shapes appeared. But hundreds of them, watching, waiting. They were here the whole time. Someone whispered. No attack came in that moment. No movement, just silence. Then one final system-wide message appeared across every remaining ship. No voice, no image. Just text, you chose to fight. A pause. Then the second line appeared. We chose to end it. The screen went dark. And the fleet followed. Two, one by one, until nothing remained. Back in the distant council chamber, the live feed ended without warning. No explosion, no final signal, just silence again, heavier than before. Because now, the galaxy had tried to fight, and failed. Completely. The high speaker stood still, staring at the empty display. Around him, no one spoke. Because the truth was no longer uncertain. This was not a war the galaxy could win. And humanity had just proven it. Earth speaks again. After the destruction of the United Fleet, the galaxy did not react with anger. It reacted with silence, not the same silence that came from humans. But a broken kind, a silence filled with fear, confusion, and waiting. No one wanted to be the next target. No one wanted to be noticed. Planets shut down long-range signals. Trade stopped completely. Systems powered down to avoid detection. The galaxy that once moved with noise and life was now quiet. But not by choice. Days passed, then more systems disappeared. Not destroyed like before, but changed. Ships entering those regions did not return, but scans showed something different. Structures were still intact. Energy systems were active again. But controlled. VA, by someone else. They are not just destroying anymore, an officer reported to the council. They are taking control of entire systems. The high speaker stood still, listening. And the populations? He asked. The officer hesitated. Unknown, he said. There are signals, but they are not responding. A heavy realization spread across the chamber. The humans were no longer just attacking. They were occupying, one system at a time. Why no communication? A council member asked. If they want control, why stay silent? No one answered, because no one understood yet. Then it happened, for the first time since everything began. A signal came from Earth, not from deep space. Not from moving coordinates, but from the human homeworld itself. The alert echoed through every system still connected. Priority transmission detected. The council chamber froze. Source confirmed, the officer said slowly. It is Earth. The high speaker stepped forward. Display it across all channels, he ordered. Every system, every frequency. Within seconds, the signal spread across the remaining galaxy. Screens activated. Ships paused. Entire planets stopped what they were doing. Everyone watched, waiting. The display changed. A black screen appeared. Then, a human figure slowly came into view, calm still, eyes focused, no anger, no emotion, just control. No one spoke. The entire galaxy listened. Zari. The human looked directly into the camera, and then spoke. You were given time, the voice said, steady and clear. Across thousands of worlds, beings leaned closer. You were given warnings. The council members exchanged uneasy looks. But no one dared interrupt. You chose to ignore both. The voice did not rise. It did not threaten. It simply stated facts. A pause followed. Then the human continued. You studied us. Another pause. But you never understood our thigh speakers. Expression hardened slightly. The words felt targeted, accurate. You believed we were weak because we spoke. The human said, you believed we were divided because we argued. The screen remained still. No movement. No background. Just that single figure. But you were wrong. A quiet weight filled every listening system. We listened. The human continued. We learned, too. Another pause. And now, we act, too. The words echoed in the silence of space. Not loud, not aggressive, but final. From this moment, the human said, all hostile systems will be removed. A few council members shifted nervously. Any system that surrenders will be secured. Secured. Someone whispered. That word felt different from destruction. Controlled. Measured. Two. This is not negotiation, the human added. The high speaker closed his eyes briefly. He already knew what was coming next. This is conclusion. The message did not rush. It did not demand. It simply existed. Unavoidable. You taught us war. The human said finally. A long pause followed. Then the last line came. And now, we finish it. The screen went black. The signal ended. The galaxy remained still. No immediate reaction came. No shouting, no orders, just silence. Because everyone understood what had just happened, humans had spoken again. Not as diplomats, not as equals, but as something else entirely. Something in control. Moments later, reports began coming in. One system after another. Surrender messages. Planetary governments shutting down defenses. Fleets powering off weapons. No one wanted to test what would happen if they refused. They are giving a choice, one council member said quietly. Yes, the high speaker replied. But not a fair one. The map of the galaxy changed again. Dark zones stopped spreading randomly. Now they moved with purpose. Toward the remaining strongholds. toward those who had not yet decided. The High Speaker looked around the chamber. For the first time, there was no debate, no arguments. Only one question remained. How long do we have? Someone asked. No one answered. Because the truth was clear. Time was no longer something the galaxy controlled, humanity did. And they had already decided how this would end. The new order, the galaxy did not fall in one final battle. There was no single moment where everything ended. Instead, it changed slowly, system by system, choice by choice. After the message from Earth, most civilizations understood one thing. Fighting back was no longer an option. The United Fleet had already tried, and it had disappeared without a trace. So planets began to surrender. Not with pride, not with dignity, but with survival in mind. Defense grids were powered down, weapons were locked. Fleets were ordered to stand still. Signals were sent out across space. We surrender. Simple words, but heavy with meaning. And something unexpected happened. Those systems were not destroyed. Instead, human ships arrived. Silent as always. Dart shapes slipping through space without warning. But this time, they did not attack. They surrounded. They watched. They took control. Orbital stations were secured. Communication networks were replaced. Military command systems were disabled, but cities remained untouched. Populations were not harmed. They are not here to destroy us, one planetary leader said quietly. They are here to rule. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Resist, and you vanish. Surrender, and you continue. Under control. It was not mercy. It was strategy. The humans were not acting with anger. They were acting with precision. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the once powerful leaders now sat in silence, not debating, not commanding. Waiting. The High Speaker stood alone at the center, watching the star map change again, bright systems turning dark. Then stabilizing under a new signal, human signal. They are rebuilding the network, an officer said, but under their control. The High Speaker nodded slowly. They are replacing us, he replied. One by one, council members began to understand. This was not just conquest. This was replacement of order. The galaxy was not being destroyed, it was being reorganized. Then a new transmission appeared. Not a warning, not a threat, an instruction. All governing bodies are to stand down. The message spread instantly. Across every remaining system, across every species. The High Speaker looked at the screen. They are ending the council, someone whispered. No, the High Speaker said quietly. They are ending the need for it. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, the High Speaker removed the symbol of his authority. A glowing emblem worn for centuries. He placed it on the central platform. It is over, he said. No one argued. Because deep down, they all knew it had been over for a long time. They had just refused to see it. Far away, in system after system, human fleets continued their work, not celebrating, not announcing victory. Just securing, organizing, controlling. Trade routes were restored. But monitored. Communication returned, but filtered. Conflicts between species were stopped instantly, not by agreement, but by force. At first, many feared this new order, and some still did. But something unexpected began to happen. The chaos that once defined the galaxy started to fade. No wars, no piracy. No sudden conflicts. Everything became stable, controlled, silent. On one distant world, a group of survivors looked up at the sky as a human ship passed above. It made no sound, left no trail. It simply moved. Are they watching us? One of them asked. Yes, another replied. Will they ever leave? No answer came. Because the truth was already clear. They were not visitors. They were not temporary rulers. They were the new reality. Back in the old council chamber, now empty and dark. The star map still glowed softly, showing a galaxy no longer divided, but unified under one silent authority: humanity. And on Earth, far from the fear they had created. These. The same blue planet continued to spin, calm and unchanged. As if none of this had ever been chaos. As if it had always been the plan, no celebrations filled its skies. No loud declarations of victory, only quiet activity, purposeful, controlled. Because for humans, this was never about revenge. And it was never about anger. It was about something much deeper. Something the galaxy had failed to understand from the beginning. Humans did not need to prove they were powerful. They only needed to wait. And when the moment came, they did not shout. They did not warn. They simply acted. The galaxy had once feared human noise. Their arguments, their emotions, their endless talking. But now, they understood the truth. The most dangerous thing about humanity was never their voice. It was their silence.